G'day viewers, welcome to another super cool, helpful repair video from the Goat Shed. Today is Wednesday the 5th of July 2023. It's currently 13 degrees Celsius outside, which equates to about 55.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, today we're going to be going through Big Indian. We've already done part one with the back box and some of the things we had to do in it. We're now done the motorboard on this game and we're ready to rock and roll. Now what we ended up doing, we ended up fitting the step down transformer up the back into the back there. You can see that black box up there that Graham's pointing to now. There it is. And we took all the components off the motorboard and it was filthy. If you remember our first video, it was really grotty, so we've fixed all that up and it looks so much better. We've refurbished the chimes, they're nice. Everything's been done. Now, just prior to starting the video, we actually powered the machine up and bang, it popped the line fuse. That's pretty bizarre. Why did that happen? Well, what happened was, it turned out that utility plug that is on the board had fallen apart inside and it was shorting out. So we've actually removed that out of the circuit. We don't use those here because they're set up for, that's the thing that normally goes there, yeah. So we took that out and that fixed that. So at the moment we've got a fuse tripping up there, you might just be able to see. And we'll just leave that there for the moment, but it all should be good now. Now, the other thing, when we replaced that, we did start the game and we found out that the player 100 point reel was sticking on. In other words, the coil was staying engaged and it wouldn't allow it to complete the startup sequence. Now, we're a little bit perplexed by that at first because we sort of were thinking a little bit incorrectly. What we found when we advanced the player unit to the second player, it unlocked. So that led us to believe initially that, oh, there's something wrong in the player unit. So we spent a little bit of time looking around in there. Then we sat back and thought about it for a moment and said, hang on, two-player games often have two separate switches that control the scoring. And we referred to the schematic on Big Indian and discovered that to be the case. So what we actually found when we had a look, the M relay, M for Mary, which is the 100-point relay, had a little bit of solder dropped down in between the two switch solder lugs. So I think we might have caused that ourselves. So just the little things. Now, I'm just going to start this game up now and hopefully it all should reset now because we haven't really tried it since then. And here we go. Beautiful.
All good.
Now, you'll notice we haven't got a playfield in this either, and that's what I meant to mention. The 100-point sticking could not have been a playfield switch because there's no playfield in it. We like to reset the game with the playfield not in it and check that things are working. There are some Gottlieb games you can't do this on. You have to have the playfield in. I just can't think at the moment what game that is.
If it's a wedge head, you won't get nothing happen until you advance the ball unit. So you can do it on single plays, but you've got to advance the ball unit to first ball manually because it hasn't got the rollover.
Yeah, that's because the ball count unit is in the circuit to give power to everything. Yeah. Okay. Now, So when a game starts, what actually happens? How does it work? Why is it so, as they say? Let's endeavour to explain to you a startup procedure on a Gottlieb game of this vintage. This machine is from 1974. As we mentioned, this is Big Brave, the 2-player, and then there's a 4-player game. So let's try and show you. I've written something out here. I'm a terrible writer, but I don't have a computer printer or anything anymore, so you're just going to have to bear with me. So let's have a look. Right, this is as good as it's going to get, but here we go. So when you start a game, you'll either insert a coin or you'll press the replay button. Regardless of which you do, the following will occur. So the start relay, which is the S relay, will get actuated by either of those actions, and it will lock in by a switch on itself on the relay, and also motor switch 2B will hold that on. That will cause the score motor to spin, and once that happens, SB2 on the sequence bank and the total play meter will actuate by a switch on the motor 2C. Through a switch on the S relay, which is closed, fires that 2C. When SB2 trips, it starts the reset of the score reels and the player unit. First player resets to 0 through P3, that's a switch stack P3, and in the player unit, and the motor switches 1A and 4A. When all those score reels are at 0 on player 1, player 2 comes into play with switch stack P4, player unit 4. Switches 1A and 4A also come into play. When they are at 0, the player unit will step all the way around till switch 5B opens. Now 5B is essentially the run-out switch of the player unit. Once the score reels and the player unit reset, the control bank at the front of the game is reset by a switch on motor 4C through a switch on the U relay. Extra players, so if you want to add another coin or press the replay button again, that will actually activate the second player relay, PB, which is called, through a motor switch 2B. Now, after you've done that, a ball will eject into the shooter lane and you're ready to go. Now, I leave that up there and I apologise for my writing, but you may be able to screenshot that and it will get an idea of how it works. So that's how a startup works on any 2-player game of this vintage. It's pretty straightforward, so you've just got to look and see what's not happening. So for argument's sake, if the S relay wasn't pulling in, that's sort of start of the circuit, so you've got to have a little look and see why. Is the coil burnt out or something like that? It's fairly easy to grasp when you get used to them, but a 4-player game only differs slightly. It's just the fact that it uses the Z1 and Z2 relays. For player 1 is Z1 and player 2 is Z1 is player 1 and 2 and Z2 is player 3 and 4. Now, also I mentioned that switches 1A and 4A come into play. I think 1A on this one resets the 10s and 100s, and 4A resets the thousands and 10,000s. It could be the other way around, but that's how that works. All right, so that's the startup sequence. Now let's do a little bit of more testing here. Okay, so the next task we're going to do, Graham's at the back of the machine now, and he's going to operate a player 1 10-point relay. And what we were looking for was that carry to the 100-point. Now he'll operate the 100-point relay. And the carry took place once again. And now he's doing the 1,000-point relay. And it carried. So now he's going to move over to the manually advance the player unit. He's on the second player. Beautiful.
Right, all good.
Now, also, you'll notice that the lights in the score rails are nice because we grounded those out as we illustrated in a post we put on our Facebook page. And remember, this is the game that had all those horrendously badly worn parts in the player unit, i.e. the coil stop, the reset arm had that groove in it. What else? We had to file the escapement wheel out because that groove had caused wear on the escapement wheel.
And that large spring was flogged out as well.
Yeah, the large spring. It was a bit of a mess, really. So, you know, it just further proves that it really pays to pull these things apart, as we do. Now, the other things we should look at is just to make sure that all the relays, like the 500-point relay, are spinning the score mode around and things like that before we actually put the playfield in the game. There you go, it's operating. Beautiful. We'll just go back to player 1. All we're doing is manually pushing in the 500-point relay here. That's all we're doing.
5,000?
5,000. Beautiful. So, remember on a machine, when you look at your schematic, there are several relays that can cause the score motor to run. So if you're 100% certain that all your score rails are at 0 and you've double checked that and the score motor is still running, it's often either something to do with the bonus and or a relay has a switch on it that's making that motor run. And you've just got to have a look on your schematic. You've got a picture of the motor, which is a circle, and normally you've got, you know, a number of relays. Sometimes there's 6 or 7, sometimes there's 8 or 9 or 10. You've got to make sure that they're all working correctly. Now, this is the trip bank down the front here, the sequence bank, right there. And this is the device they did away with pretty much after far out. But one good thing this game's got is, got a bit of gimbal trouble here. One good thing this game has got is the jack for the score motor. That's that white plug there that Graham's putting his hand on now. So you can remove it, and what you can do with that, you can manually spin the motor with that out, and then things will operate. So say you wanted to check something and you can see where it gets up to. You wanted to look at a specific or particular switch. That's the jack that allows you to do that. I mean, it's funny, we've got high hand in here at the moment. We've had a couple, and a guy rang up through the week. We've got another one coming, and it doesn't have that motor jack. I mean, you could put one on if you wanted to, but it's a damn nuisance not having it. You know, we use that a lot in troubleshooting. So we're pretty happy now that we've got the game resetting and we know that it works till we plug the playfield in. That's a 5 amp slow blow fuse up there where we've got that trip at the moment. So we're going to have to go and get some. We don't seem to have any of those here at the moment.
Go for a lot of them.
Fortunately, there's an electronics store not far from us that stock those fuses. Right, so what we'll do now is we'll put the playfield in and we'll further carry on the troubleshooting, and we'll show you what we get up to from there. Now, once we've connected the playfield up and started the game, everything reset, as we showed just a moment ago. But the very first thing we did was roll over one of the top rollovers, which is a B, I and a G. And you can see those lights lit there.
There's three there.
When we roll over one of the rollovers, they should go out.
But they go out and come back straight back on.
They go out and come straight back on. Now, each one of them does that, the whole three, and it doesn't matter whether you roll over the top rollover or the side lane rollovers, they don't go out.
But they still give you a bonus.
Now,
8 points.
What could that be? Okay, well, I'm going to show you what that is. That's to do with a very important circuit that's on a lot of pinball machines called a hold-on circuit. Now, what happens, some games have a trip bank that they use for that type of thing. Games like Bronco and I think Spirit of 76.
Yeah, Jungle Queen.
Yeah, those. But this doesn't. What it does, it uses a relay to hold on. Now, I'm going to try and illustrate this to you. I've had to write it out. As I said, I haven't got a printed schematic for this game. I've got a electronic copy, and every time you need one, I just have to, I don't want to have to print something out, that's what I'm trying to say. Every time I want one, it all costs money, and we don't see an awful lot of big Braves, we see more big Indians. But essentially what the problem is, what the problem was there was a wire off in the hold-on circuit. That's really what the problem was. Now, we'll just show you now, once that's fixed, what happens. It will all work. Alright, now we've resoldered that wire on. Now you watch what happens.
The wire there. They all go out.
And it all works. Okay, let's attempt to have a look at what the problem was. So here we've drawn that hold-on circuit for you. Once again, I'm not the best drawer or writer, but this is it. So this is the hold-on circuit for the big. Now, here's the three relays, the B, the G and the I. They're all directly connected to the other side. As you can see. But what the major difference is, that says B roll over, C roll over, G roll over, and I roll over. Now the reason there's two switches for the B and the G, you've got two opportunities to get those out on the playfield. But the I, you only have one opportunity, and that's generally the middle rollover lane, so that's your skill shot. Now, if we have a look at the circuit, there's a switch in the P relay. Now the P relay is the player unit. Now when you think about how the game works, you get B, I, G out, and when the next player comes up, that resets. So once your ball drains and the P relay pulls in, it lets go of that switch, and once that switch lets go, I made a bit of a mistake there, so ignore all that. Once that switch lets go, there's now, each of these switches has its own hold-on switch. So the B relay has a B switch, that's the hold-on switch for the G, and the hold-on switch for the I. Once that P relay lets go, power is lost straight away to here and to here. And that's how that works. And what we found was, when we checked that out, the red and white wire and the green and white wire that are involved with that normally closed switch, the red and white wire had come off. And therefore there was no hold-on circuit. So that's the simplest explanation I can give you for it. Hope that makes a lot of sense to you. But this is how, if you do learn to read schematics, it does help you find things. Now, if we didn't have the schematic, we would have eventually found that, but it would have probably taken us a little bit longer, and we don't really want to waste too much time when we can be moving on to other things. So there you go, that's all done now. Now let's lay this playfield down now and give the machine a further test, and we'll see if things like specials work and all the point scoring occurs. Okay, so now we've got the playfield down and we've just rolled over the G up the top. That's gone out. We'll hit each of those star rollovers there, that's okay.
That's only for points.
Now we haven't got the chimes connected up yet. We always do that last.
So this light's not working.
So we've got a light there on one of the star rollovers not working.
It's playing the bonus but not the... that one's lit.
Rightio. Now we've got specials alight.
The relay's making a horrible noise, so we'll have to work on that.
Yep, so let's have a look and see if it pays a...
No.
So it didn't pay a replay.
It didn't reset as well.
Nor did they reset, so we'll have to have a look at that. That target's working.
Played a game on points, so there must be a really low score.
Yeah. What are we up to here?
Well, the target's reset down the side, which it's supposed to anyway. So we'll go and try this. No. Must be on the switches behind it, sequence completed.
Okay, so we've got to have a look at those sequence completed switches most likely.
Check the Vera, because that was...
How's the Vera target? Let's have a look at that. Oh yeah? Beautiful.
Big hit.
Okay, so...
I think the 10 light's not working.
Oh, okay, we noticed a bonus, so let's just have a look at that. We're on 5 at the moment, let's go.
And I think 3's not working as well.
1, 2, yeah, 3. Now, even though we've rounded those out, what that means is that the connection between 3 and 10. So we'll solder those directly to the bud and that'll fix that up.
Yeah.
Alright, so pretty well most things are working. We're on ball 3. Drain that ball. We'll just make sure we should now go to ball 4. And it did.
Bumpers are good.
Yeah, now this has had top bumper kits put in them, so those bumpers should have a bit. Must have got another score.
Double bonus.
Double bonus is a light.
5, so
5, so 10, so
7, 88.
88. Beautiful, and game over. And the only thing I think I noticed on the schematic, it states the game over light should have a flasher in it.
Yep, we can do that.
So we should have one of those. So we've got to have a look at why those specials aren't working and the drop targets aren't restoring. That'll all be tied up, I'd imagine. And there was one other thing, which was the lights on the bonus, yes, and the light under the star rollover.
Yeah.
So let's get ahead.
Apart from that, it's looking good.
And do that.
Hang on, I'll have one.
Okay, so the problem is, or was, with the specials not operating and the targets not restoring, was this bottom switch just here. It just wasn't touching enough. Now, we recalled that we had to actually, that switch had a loose and spinning contact pad on it when we were doing the game originally, so obviously when we've soldered that we
haven't adjusted it.
Haven't really adjusted it correctly, so once again, you know, you've got to check your own work. But that's the switch that does that sort of work. Now, it turns out even though we put a brand new light in here, a lamp, it was blown. So that's fixed now. The bonus array, the 3 and the 2, just sort of slightly loose on the lug. So what we're going to do, we'll solder those directly to the bud, and that'll fix that all up for us. Now the other problem we just remembered, there's a broken coil in the coil lug in the chime mechanism, so we need to replace that solenoid coil. We're trying to search for one as we speak, but that's not going to stop us from getting the game going. So now we look like we're on track. We've just refitted the power switch. It's got the cover on it there. Now we should just have a few minor adjustments to do, and we'll be up and away on this machine. We've got to put it into free play. I think we've shown you how to do that before, so we'll do that. Notice there's 2 wires with tape on them. That must have been the playfield slam switch. Someone's actually removed that. And yeah, they are normally open, so that makes sense. The wires aren't joined together. Otherwise it would tilt.
Yeah.
Alright, so there's a closer look at those bridge rectifiers for the flippers. It should have pretty powerful flippers. We haven't operated those yet, but we will. Alright, so we just got to put the playfield back down now and carry on. So there's the game now being fitted with a flashing bulb in the game over, as the schematic calls for. And there of course are 455 lamp. Well, further testing on this game, but we're pretty happy with it now, and Spanky's given it the all clear. We soldered a couple of those wires on the bonus ladder, the 3 and the 10k, onto the bud to give it more positive connection. So in a day or two, probably Saturday morning our time, which will be Friday evening your time after 6 p.m. Eastern time, we'll do another Goat Shed live presentation. We'll give you a tour of the renovations and the upgrades to the Goat Shed. So, till we see you again, this has been another Goat Shed presentation.